For those of you who didn't know that there are levels of stupidity to suborning perjury, it turns out that the only worse response to having your executive director assault a campaign staff member and to try to cover it up by getting him and the director of candidate development to lie on court documents is to try to talk two people who are running for office into getting embroiled in the scheme. Okay, bathroom's up and running again. Still needs a little clean and a couple more items, but we are making progress. Very often we will avoid an unpleasant truth by asking the question, but why? You may have observed this many times over the last several years. Really? Why would the entire media establishment and the intelligence community lie about Russiagate? Or the lab leak? Or the Hunter Biden laptop? Or the events of January 6th? In other words, why is often a denial. What we really mean when we say why in this way is what you're telling me is so completely outside of my worldview that I cannot imagine it, and therefore I will not even entertain it. And while why is a very important question to be answered, it is the duty of every adult with integrity to first acknowledge facts and then find out why they are the way they are and what they mean. So let's start by acknowledging some facts, and then we can talk about why they may be true. A few weeks ago, my friend and sometime colleague Peter LaFond released a very powerful video that had an excerpt from a Zoom meeting between Wayne Gibson, Chelsea Cooley-Altman, and Melissa Mason that occurred last summer. Let's listen to some of that.
You're the weakest candidate we have. If you don't come on board with us, we're not going to fund you. And those two things are true.
Fact number one. After the primary, before the general, the GOP threatened not to fund Melissa Mason's campaign. This is not in line with the bylaws of the GOP. The party is supposed to not take sides during the primary and to support whoever wins after the primary.
A lot of the concerns are the far right leaning that you are perceived to be. It's way too far right.
Fact number two. The reason that the GOP didn't want to support Melissa is because she was too far right.
The constant Fire Foust movement is a big no for a lot of those people.
Fact number three. Of all of Melissa's positions that were objectionable for being too far right for the GOP leadership, her Fire Foust position was the one that caused the most consternation.
What I'm asking you to do is to use language and marketing and messaging that will get you elected.
Facts number 4 and 5. First, the GOP thinks its role in the general is not to support the candidate and the platform that the candidate ran on in the primary, but to direct the messaging and marketing of that candidate's platform, regardless of what the candidate wants to do and regardless of the will of the voters who voted in the primary. Second, the GOP leadership seems to believe that the way to win elections in this current climate is still to run to the middle.
We have people that are in another location developing a press release. I know 5 people have already filed or will be filing for a no contact with the court.
Fact number 6. Although ultimately only 3 no contact orders were filed against me, the GOP coordinated or attempted to coordinate 5 no contact orders. The other 2 no contact orders were solicited from school board candidates Pete Wildeboer and Pat Bradford.
And we will be passing a no trespass at the next board meeting.
Fact number 7. In this case, at least, the GOP attempted to rely on lawfare as a means of dealing with ideological dissent within the party and not debate which would seem to be in line with the principles of the party.
So you're going to be seeing a newspaper article. You might be seeing it on other media outlets. I just want to give you a heads up that that will happen.
Fact number 8. The New Hanover County GOP has contacts within the local press whom they can use to destroy political opponents. And apparently, they use this power against other Republicans.
Because it could certainly have some impact on your campaign, Melissa.
Fact number 9. Even though they say they want her to be elected, they show that they're willing to hurt Melissa's chances of being elected. Now, let's go back over those facts. And as we go through these facts, remember the point. You should be asking yourself whether this fact pattern matches what you would like to see reflected in GOP leadership, because one of the slates that is asking for your vote on the 21st is running on this record. Fact number 1, GOP threatened Melissa after the primary. Well, according to Nevin Carr during the town hall, this was the unforgivable sin of party disloyalty, the kind of thing that he would probably attribute to the so-called Democrat infiltrators, the people of people he talks about. Fact number 2, Melissa was too far right for the GOP. So here's Melissa's pledge items. She's against the woke agenda, for school choice, against obscene materials in schools, for firing Foust, against the gender support plan, and for parental rights. So apparently that's what the GOP leadership under Will Knecht and Rick Wilkins and Wayne Gibson defined as too far right. Odd, isn't it, that they all seem to embrace all of those positions publicly on the campaign trail, with the exception, of course, of the fire Foust item. If we try to interpret this discrepancy in the context of this Zoom call, though, we see where the discrepancy is resolved. In this Zoom call, Wayne and Chelsea explained to Melissa that the GOP is having trouble raising money because she's on the ticket, and the donors are not comfortable with the fire Foust item. In public, there was a lot of talk about having to pay Foust out if we fired him. But of course, Melissa made the case very clearly and very well that we had cause to fire Foust, and we would not have to pay out his contract if we got rid of him. Clearly, the reasons given publicly to the average voter were spurious and a cover story for serving the interests of large donors, who apparently want to keep woke administrators in their jobs. Fact number 3, fire Foust was the biggest issue. Since Foust is the agent of all the policies that Melissa opposes, you can't very well be against those policies and for Foust. And if the principles behind Melissa's positions are indeed Republican principles, again, we must conclude that where Republican principles and the desires of big donors conflict, the current GOP leadership will invariably choose the big donors. Fact number 4. GOP thinks its role is to control candidates and ignore voters. Honestly. Enough said. Fact number 5. GOP still thinks it can win by running to the middle. Generals are often faulted for fighting the last war. Usually, however, that's when those generals won the last war. The people in charge of the GOP in North Carolina, the rhinos and the establishment hacks, haven't actually won anything of note since 2016, when they were actively trying to undermine the guy who actually won it for them in 2016. Similarly, the current leadership of our county continues to take credit for the win of a grassroots candidate who they actively tried to sabotage during the election. But the point here is not about dunking on rivals within the party. The point is that the current party leadership lacks strategic vision and understanding. And oddly enough, Wayne Gibson made the point better than anyone else to me. In an earlier discussion, before he assaulted me, he said to me that the electorate was divided between people who were so brainwashed by the left that it didn't matter what pitch was made to them. They were going to vote for the Biden craziness no matter what. On the other hand, were voters who understood that if this election did not turn the tide, the country would be in mortal danger, and the Republican Party might never win another election again. And I said to him then, what I'm saying to you now. And you still want to run to the middle? This is not just a facile observation or witty word game that I trapped Wayne in. In fact, underneath it, there is a counterintuitive fact that if we can grasp it and take advantage of it as a party, we will become the dominant party for many years to come, and we will be able to change the course of this country, bringing our policies back to sanity and our communities back into harmony. Because in spite of the increasing rhetorical divide and the bitterness of opposition between Democrats and Republicans, the fact that our government is becoming so rapidly more tyrannical is creating practical common cause between people on either side of the rhetorical divide. And specifically in New Hanover County, I am talking about the issue of Dr. Foust. For goodness sake, the man is despised on both sides of the political aisle. The fact is, we cannot remove failing administrators, which means we are disempowered as a populace, and this is a pain that is felt amongst Democrats and Republicans. So why the one issue that unites this polarized community should be used as the cause to undermine Melissa's campaign when they're telling us that what she needs to do is run to the middle is hard to understand at best. Either they don't perceive it, which reinforces my original claim from an earlier video that they are incompetent, or they do perceive it and they want to conceal it from you, in which case they are dishonest and are not serving you and do not deserve your vote or your support. P.S. We won running on Republican principles. And on the Foust issue specifically, the entire field moved towards our position after the primary. So if you can't learn from your losses and you can't learn from your wins, what you've proven is that you can't learn. Fact number 6. Will Knecht tried to get candidates to perjure themselves during an election. For those of you who didn't know that there are levels of stupidity to suborning perjury, it turns out that the only worse response to having your executive director assault a campaign staff member and to try to cover it up by getting him and the director of candidate development to lie on court documents is to try to talk two people who are running for office into getting embroiled in the scheme. Will Knecht is like a child. He makes a mistake, and then, instead of acknowledging it and trying to deal with it in a forthright manner, he hides it. That's everything he does. He covers one mistake up with another mistake. Getting too much heat from party membership? I got a solution. Just stop having public meetings. Hide and pretend nothing's wrong. Worried that all the times that you didn't follow the plan of organization when you were dealing with the precinct chairs is going to come out? I have an idea. Call a meeting on Zoom that also violates the plan of organization and try to erase everything you've done by amending the notes. You think... Hello? McWatley, you think he's not going to do the same thing when he takes your job over? And to tie it all in a bow for yours truly, the erstwhile victim of this Keystone Cop Railroad job, Will Knecht actually told Melissa that the whole process of the no contact orders started with the text message he got from me. And Wayne confirms that in his no contact order, that it all started with my text message. And even Rick, in his testimony, confirms that the no contact order started for him with a communication from Will, which happened to be on the same day that I sent him that text message. So I give him credit for teamwork. These are not strategists. Fact number 7. The GOP dealt with dissent through lawfare, not debate. We want to be the party of free speech, right? Fact number 8. Local press aligns with GOP leadership? When have you ever seen our local press do anything for actual Republican principles or actual Republican politicians? Establishment rags serve establishment politicians. Fact number 9, GOP will gladly sabotage non-establishment candidates. 4, 3, 2, 1. If we don't elect all 4, it'll be the same as if we lost all 4. Remember all that? Can you believe it? Can you believe what they say anymore? I'll tell you what I can't believe. I can't believe the audio of the meeting between Will and Melissa when she told him that the reason that I was there at the meeting is because she no longer feels safe at GOP functions because of all the harassment she'd been suffering from within the party. And this is harassment that we had made Will aware of on the night of the primary election, all the way back on May 17th. And we told him we understood that primaries were tough, but all the nonsense needed to stop, and he did nothing. And then to listen to the callous casualness with which he receives this information from her, as she's clearly in distress, what I really can't believe is that this party would tolerate a so-called leader who would express no concern over the safety concerns of a female candidate, especially one of malicious stature, and would do nothing about it. Shameful. I'm going to include that audio in the description so you can listen to it. Finally, we are left with the great question that Melissa Mason asked. Why is Foust so important to so many people? I don't know the whole story, but I feel fairly confident it has to do with this and this. Find out what I think the connection is next time.